Let's take a look at the overall structure first. This hanging painting, mainly composed of flat poking and 3-dimensional sway poking. The flower part needs to be poked on the reverse side. Then stamp the background part on the front. This is the effect on the back. Because the border on the back is diagonal in, so it would be convenient to poke the pattern on the edge. So first of all, let's get to know the needle. It comes with a wire guide built into it. This lead is used to thread the lead wire. And each poke needle is only equipped with a leading device. Please keep it safe when not in use. The needle is made up of a metal tube and a plastic casing. There are 4 ABCD gears on the plastic case. Press the tail to adjust the gear. The length of the needle tube corresponding to each gear is different. A gear, the longest needle length. This is gear B. This is gear C. This is the D gear. D gear has the shortest needle length when everyone is making, according to the material packaging requirements, or adjust the gear according to your actual needs. Now let's thread. Remove the lead. Pinch the tip of the fuse tight. Through the pinhole in front of the tip. Go through the needle. Thread the lead into, through the end of the poke pin, so the fuse is worn. Next, you can take out the wool you need. You can take some more thread off the ball of thread. Put it aside for backup. Avoid making. The card line is offline because there are too few lines. Find the thread. Thread the thread through the lead. Pull a short distance. Then pull the extra lead on the front end of the tip. Pulling will out of the eye of a needle. Then remove the lead. You can take a look. It looks like this after wearing it. Excess thread in front of the tip. Take back about 3 to 5 centimeters. The length of the thread can be adjusted according to the gear used. And the threading is done. In the subsequent production process, the method of threading is the same every time you change the thread. Let's make it together next. Take out the embroidery frame and poke it first. The 3-dimensional part needs to be poked on the back. Turn to the back. You can use books or other items first. Raise both sides of the embroidery frame. Make the embroidery cloth in the middle, hanging in the air. Here is a small wooden frame prepared. Put the wooden frame at the bottom. This is not only more convenient to operate, it's not easy to poke the desktop. The pattern on the back needs to be depicted by yourself. Turn on the phone flashlight and put it under the picture frame. Using light to pass through embroidery, you see the outline of the pattern on the front. Take out the pencil and draw. The use of the water sharpener is very simple. If there is a wrong drawing, you can gently wipe off the marks with a wet tissue. Keep drawing. The light source or embroidery frame can be moved appropriately. Slowly draw the outline. Draw the rest in the same way. Pattern on the edge of the embroidery frame. You can tilt the embroidery frame to draw. In this way, the part that needs to be stamped on the back is drawn. And here's the stamping. First, poke the flower core part and take out the white thread. Open the line. Find one end of thread. Thread the thread as shown earlier. Leaves 2 to 3 centimeters in length. When poking, first poke a circle along the blue outer outline. Go around and poke. The oblique opening on the poke needle is to point in the direction we want to poke. Where the line should be poked, where the oblique mouth should be facing. Where is the oblique mouth going? Try to find square holes. When you insert the needle, you should poke the needle to the bottom. Don't move the thread. The needle tip should be close to the embroidery cloth. Don't lift it too high. Otherwise, it is easy to go offline. Note that the oblique mouth should always be in the direction we want to poke. Needle tip close to embroidery cloth. Poke the first needle about 3 holes apart. Poke down. So the first line segment is poked. The needle follows the blue stitches, about 3 holes apart. Poke the second needle. So the second line segment is also poked. It is also about 3 holes apart. Poke the third needle. In the process of poking, we try to keep the pitch consistent. The finished product poked out in this way is more detailed and beautiful. Pay attention to the oblique direction, always in the direction we want to stamp. If there is an offline or unsatisfactory poke, you can pull the needle out. At this time, you need to check whether the wool is pressed by hand. Did you take more wool out of the wool ball? Is there a small hole in the head of the wool that passes through the oblique opening? When poking the needle, is there a whole needle poking to the end? Scrape the cloth lightly with the tip of a needle. Repair small holes in embroidery cloth. Retract excess thread. And then we reinsert it. Then encountered this situation, also handled in the same way. Continue to poke to the starting point. So the first lap is poked. Flip to the front. Small coils are formed on the front. Flip back. Then the calendar starts to poke the second circle. The puncture on the second lap is the same as on the first lap. It's just that the needle insertion position is different. The second lap should be inserted in the middle of each line segment in the first lap, approaching the first line segment. Insert the needle in the middle position. The next line segment is the same. Insert the needle in the middle position. You can take a look. The two arcs are parallel and interlaced. Lined up. So the second circle is poked. Flip to the front and take a look. The coils are tightly packed together. Then poke in. Third loop, insert the needle in the middle of each line segment in the second loop. You can take a look here. The more you poke it in, the lines are getting shorter. This is because the pattern of the poke is curved. The further in, the shorter the length of each line segment. Needle reduction can be performed appropriately. Shorter line segments can be skipped. Insert the needle in the middle of the next line segment. The longer line segment can be inserted into the needle normally, according to the same method. Round and poking in. Fill in the blanks. After it is full, turn it to the front and take a look. There is no blank part leaking from the front, so the flower heart is poked. Turn to the back and break the line. Press the thread lightly with your hands. Elongate the thread on the needle. Take out the scissors. Cut the thread short to about 1 centimeter. If there is an area on the back that shows the embroidery cloth or is not full, it doesn't matter. As long as the front does not expose the embroidery cloth. Coil density. It can be determined according to the length of the stamped line segment. The shorter the stamped segment, the higher the density. The longer the stamped line segment, the lower the density. Here we go. Change the golden wool and poke the middle flower part. First poke along the edge. Go around and poke it in. The edge blocks the pattern because of the embroidery frame. You can tilt the embroidery frame and poke the needle. Then slowly poke along the stitches. Here to the innermost. Try to fill it up along the edge. Keep filling in the blanks. Second lap. On the first lap, each line segment. Needle in the middle. Do the same thing, circle by circle. Fill in the blanks. If you can't poke it, the line will be disconnected. Reinsert the needle from the blank position. After poking, turn to the front and take a look. No embroidery will be exposed. Arrange the staggered coils. Adjust the shape. Next, change to bright yellow wool. Poke the outer flower part. First poke along the edge. Fill it up. So the yellow flower is poked. Turn it to the front and adjust it. Next, change the white thread and poke the right flower heart part. Droplet shape. Pay attention to one side wide and one side narrow. The round pattern can be poked 4 to 5 times. Adjust the shape. Use the same method to poke the remaining flower hearts. After poking, turn to the front to tidy up. Next, change to watermelon red and poke the middle flower part. First poke along the edge. Go around and poke it. Poke until it intersects with the middle pattern. Poke by region. You can pluck the thread with your hands. Continue to poke and fill in the pattern completely. After poking, turn it to the front and adjust the shape. Arrange the staggered coils. Next, change the light pink thread and poke the outermost flowers. A small part of the innermost side should also be poked, so a pink flower is poked. Finish poking another fan flower in the same way. So the big flower is poked. Next, change the burgundy thread and poke the core part of the small flower. Next, change the white thread to poke the petal parts. So a little flower is poked. Next, use the same method to poke the remaining florets. So the reverse stamping is done. So we're going to start stamping in the front. Change the gray-green yarn and start poking the leaves. Leaf part. You start with the needle in the middle of the leaf. For front poking, you need to pull the thread to the back. Just left about 2 centimeters. Next, I want to draw the line on the edge of the leaf. Tracking needle poking needle, elongate the line and slowly move to the edge of the blade. So the first needle is poked. Then gently lift the poked needle. Slowly come back to the middle line. Lift the needle gently. Stitch into the needle on the other side edge. Return to the position 1 millimeter up from the center. Then the same method. Poke to the side first. Return to the center. Be careful to cover the blue stitches. If it goes off the line, press it with your hand. Then continue to poke. After exiting, slowly lengthen the line. Cut the thread. Poke the thread to the back. Next, change the white thread and poke the leaf veins. Insert the needle from the middle of the leaf. Along the median line, poke a needle at a distance of about 1 centimeter. Then poke to the side of the blade. Again, about a centimeter apart. And back to the middle line. Keep poking along the middle line. Then poke the blade on the other side. The next method is the same. One left and one right can be poked. Now we're going to poke the branches with the green line. First poke along the contour line. Fill in the middle. The position of the border requires an inclined poke. Poke slowly to avoid the border below. Avoid damaging the needle. Use the same method. Poke the remaining leaves and branches. Next, change to plain pink and poke the background part. First poke along the contour line. You can flick the coil lightly. Continue to stamp along the contour line. Slowly fill in the blanks. Use the same method to poke the plain pink background. Next, change to the light yellow line. Poke the rest of the background. Poke along the middle pattern. Lightly open the coil. Continue to stamp along the contour line. Slowly fill in the blanks. If you can't poke it, the line will be disconnected. Re-insert the needle from the blank position. Just fill the pattern completely. So the background is poked. Turn to the back. Cut all the threads to the same length as the coil, a lot of height. The back is relatively flat. Flip to the front. In this way, the poke embroidery hanging painting is completed. If you need to buy a punch needle kit, you can search PuddingCase.com.